Hey guys, I feel like I have not made a video in what feels like a jillion years, so I'm super excited to be back on here. Tonight I just got back from just getting dinner with Nick and hanging and trying to kind of put back together the pieces after just being on vacation and kind of a whirlwind of a week. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everyone for just how much love you've shown both Nick and I with the engagement and all of that. We are over the moon. So I couldn't start the video without saying thank you about it. It has been quite the week. So I'm excited to kind of get back to a normal rhythm and kind of just settle back into life, and the semester starts this coming week. I go to clinical tomorrow, which is Tuesday, and then school starts again on Wednesday, which is exciting. I'm in the last semester, the final push, the final 12 weeks of school, which feels crazy but also awesome all at the same time. So that's good. I hope you guys had a restful and I spent last night with just a couple of my best girlfriends. I'm gonna try to sit up a little bit. I spent last night with just a couple of my best girlfriends, just drinking wine and catching up and all of that. So I hope you guys had a really restful weekend too. Today I'm hoping to chat a little bit, or mostly, about emotional eating. I am trying to kind of dig up questions from the Q&A, what I have in my notes section, because I feel like I haven't answered any questions in forever. And so there were like 3 or 4 questions on emotional eating, and so I thought that might be a good topic to talk about, because I feel like eating for hunger or eating for any other reason is a topic that I actually talk with people about a lot, because it's this mucky kind of gray area of like, okay, do I eat when I'm hungry? How do I know when I'm hungry? How do I know how much to eat? How do I know when to eat? And then again, it's this very gray area of like, is it okay to eat when I'm not necessarily hungry? When are times in our lives when we're eating when we might not be totally hungry? And is that okay? And so we're going to touch upon all of that. So I'll try to be as concise as I can, but as you guys know, the point of these is just to be candid, for it to be a conversation, and so these aren't videos that I rehearse over and over and over again. So this is me just going on the fly. So, okay, so this is a question. Something I often deal with in terms of eating is late night snacking or eating. I live alone. She does have her boyfriend that lives close by, but some nights she does just kind of veg out and watch TV, which is great. When I'm alone at night, I find myself consuming yada yada yada, a variety of foods, and this is after dinner. I guess it does not matter what I eat, but I know I'm not always hungry, and it has to be about being bored or engaged in or not engaged in the TV show, or anticipation of work the next day, or something else other than physiological hunger. And so basically saying kind of, how do we deal with this? And then our second part to that question is, you mentioned identifying what is really going on, and after I identify, what do I actually do about that? And so I think that those are 2 really good questions, and I'm going to try to answer this in a way that I hope is concise, that isn't going to be able to apply to each individual circumstance, but I hope it kind of sheds light on some things that I think are actually important. So when we think about eating, right, we do want to be doing our best to be eating mindfully and be eating with intention. Now, is that to say that that always happens? 100% no. There are times when I don't eat necessarily mindfully or with intention the whole time, because maybe I'm really engaged in conversation, or maybe I am kind of in between coming home from school and then getting on a nutshell call, or going out to dinner with friends, and I'm kind of shoving something in my face, and I'm not actually eating mindfully or with intention. So this is definitely not perfection, but it's saying, okay, what do we want to do the majority of the time, and what can we start to habitualize in our life? And so, first of all, we want to be eating as mindfully and with as much intention as we can. Now, if we find that we're perhaps not doing that, then we always have to say, okay, what is the feeling that I'm trying to either numb out, or I'm trying to avoid, or what am I trying to cope with food? And to answer that question, because maybe it is boredom, maybe it is stress, maybe it is procrastination, maybe it is loneliness, maybe it is sadness, maybe it's anger, maybe it's all of these feelings that we're trying to numb out with food that actually isn't doing the trick in the first place. And so the first thing we have to do is identify maybe what's actually underlying that. And that might be hard. That might actually take you sitting down and kind of sifting through that. Okay, I have some of my clients keep like a mindfulness journal, to where they will write out they will write out like, oh, this is how hungry I was when I started eating. This is how I felt when I started eating. This is how full I was when I stopped eating. And this is how I felt when I stopped eating. That's an exercise you can do to start to cultivate awareness around why you eat, how hungry you are when you're eating, and maybe what's actually going on underneath the surface when you are eating. And that might be a helpful first step, just to start to see, okay, what's actually going on when I am eating, and why do I eat in the first place? Because even, not saying we have to eat 100% of the time when we're hungry, because there's going to be plenty of times when we eat for celebration, when we eat because a loved one just made us something really yummy and they want us to try it, when we eat for satisfaction and for pleasure. Food is meant to be satisfying, and it's meant to be used for pleasure and enjoyment, but we just don't want to abuse that on the other side of things, where it becomes something that it's not, and it becomes this emotional crutch, or has some sort of emotional fixation. We're trying to, I don't know if that's the right word, but we're trying to use it as a therapeutic tool instead of what it was actually designed for. And so, not saying that you can't eat when you're not hungry, but really looking at, okay, what is my mindset behind this? What am I actually feeling when I'm eating? There's a difference between going out and getting an ice cream with friends at one summer night, and you're totally not hungry, but it sounds really good and you're craving it and you're going to really enjoy it with people, and sitting in front of your TV zoning out and eating a pint of ice cream or something, and then going, A, when did I eat all of that, and B, now I feel shame or guilt or whatever that might be. So I hope you can kind of identify the difference there. That would be my suggestion with that. Then once we start to say, okay, what is the difference? What am I actually feeling in this? Then you can start to say, okay, what is the feeling? And what are other things that are going to actually help me cope with that feeling other than food, that are actually going to be helpful for me in coping with that feeling? So if I'm bored, maybe I call a friend. Or maybe if I'm feeling anxious, what are other things that I can do that are actually going to help me to feel not anxious? Because very rarely is food going to make us feel not anxious. It's never about the food, right? Even if we are, even if we want to lose weight, and we think when we get down to that weight, then we'll love our body. If you can't accept your body at 300 pounds, you're never going to accept your body at 113 pounds or 130 pounds or whatever that number is. So it's never really about the food. So getting down to, what can I do to actually take care of this feeling? And so if that's loneliness, what does that look like for you? Does that look like being in prayer? Does that look like calling a girlfriend? Does that look like connecting with people? Does that look like going out and being more social? What does that actually mean for you? If it's procrastination, does it mean actually sitting down and creating some quiet space for you to think and actually do the task that needs to be done? So first identifying the cause, and it could be as simple as boredom, and then identifying what are some actual healthy tools that are going to help me to deal with this emotion in a healthy way. Now, one thing I do want to note, before I just blabber on about emotions, and somebody that, like a dietitian who is trained in that, or it has expertise in that, or a therapist, or even a physician can help you kind of sort through those emotions and how to best deal with that. Now, on the flip side, I never want to neglect physiological hunger, right? It might seem like it's boredom, and it very might well be, but are we getting snacky at nighttime because we haven't actually eaten enough during the day, or we haven't eaten a good balance of foods? Like, are we getting enough fats? Are we getting enough carbohydrates? Usually fats and carbohydrates. Very rarely are people not getting enough protein. And is that why our body's snacky and looking for something at nighttime, to where therefore it might be a combination of psychological and physiological hunger, but is there this physiological component to saying, okay, was dinner not satisfying enough for me? Did I not eat enough at the beginning of the day, so now I'm searching for things from the cabinet later on at night? What might be going on there? So there's tons of factors here, but I hope these questions, and the way that I'm talking about it, kind of are just helping to jog your brain to say, and to think about these things, and to say, okay, what's actually going on, and how can I get to the root cause of that, so that I can help in moving past that. But I do want to stress a lot, this is totally not about perfection. There are going to be plenty of times where I overeat, other people overeat, and how do we change? I'm human too, and so I am not immune to guilt or to shame or to anything like that. But to say, okay, how do I not feel guilt or shame when those things happen, where I feel too full, or I feel like I overate, or I feel like I mindlessly ate, or whatever that might be. But how can I, instead of feeling guilt or shame, how can I actually become curious about those behaviors, and therefore just become curious about it and learn more about yourself and your behavior so that you can change them in a healthy way, instead of getting stuck in this cycle of guilt and shame and all those self-destructive behaviors and thoughts that can happen. But this is totally not about perfection. We can eat when we're not hungry to satisfy. We can eat to celebrate. We can eat for a lot of reasons outside of hunger. We can intentionally eat an ice cream cone when we're not hungry, just like we can intentionally eat broccoli and kale and salmon when we are hungry. So it's more about the mindset than the actual behavior itself. What's your intention behind that? So I hope that's helpful without me blabbering. I would love to go into, eating for hunger versus not hunger and all of that. So maybe that'll be a kind of a follow-up to this video. But I think it's a topic that we just brushed upon, but that can be expanded upon a lot. Intuitive Eating is a totally fundamental book with a lot of dietitians, and it's an amazing book if you're looking to read more. That's really great. So they have tons of editions because it's been out for 20 years. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you guys have an awesome week planned and you're excited to get back into the week and had a restful, long weekend. It's finally, the heat is cut here in the city and it feels so amazing. It was actually, I was in jeans and a sweatshirt all week in Cape Cod, so that was amazing. So I hope you have a great week planned and that you're looking forward to a shorter weekend. The next weekend will come soon. And I will talk to you guys soon. All right, bye-bye.